DJI do not want you to buy this drone. Why? It's very clear, because it's a potato. These are the goggles too. Now these are DJI's brand new goggles. So being an FPV drone, you would think the DJI would add support for these goggles to work with this drone. That's not the case. These goggles are set to work with the Mavic 3 drones, even the mini drones. Why are they not adding support for the DJI FPV? There is one simple reason. This drone is going to be discontinued. Otherwise, they would have given us the capability to use this drone with these goggles in the most recent firmware update, but they didn't. Now let's look at some more reasons why you should not buy this drone. The first one is geofencing. Now, because this is a DJI drone, it's smarter than we want it to be. So if you try and fly this in an area where you're not supposed to fly, it will not let you take off. But a traditional FPV drone has no geofencing, so you can take off wherever you like. Not saying you should, because local laws and all that, you need to abide by those drone laws. But being fully licensed, I have to unlock this thing every time I want to fly in a red zone, which is really annoying. The second reason is it has a terrible camera. This is just not great video quality coming out of this thing, and that is why I have a GoPro mounted onto the top of it. It is a 4K camera, and you'd think that being a DJI camera, they would have put a good quality camera on here, but it just doesn't hold up. It falls apart in dark places. It falls apart when there's high detail. It falls apart when you try to color grade it. It's terrible. That's why I'm using this. Have a look at these two shots side by side. One is from the onboard camera of the DJI FPV, and the other one is from the GoPro 9. Come on, what were DJI thinking? This is a terrible camera. And that leads me to another problem with this drone. Having such a shit camera on board, you have to mount a GoPro. Therefore, you have to use a mount. Now this mount interferes with the GPS. I've had a couple of situations where I couldn't even get enough satellites to get this thing off the ground. It would take off, but I was limited into how high I could go. And if I was in manual mode, it would come to a screaming halt, because I didn't have enough satellites and the drone wanted to have a GPS. So I couldn't fly it. That is the most frustrating thing when you are sitting there in the freaking heat trying to get this thing to get satellites. And I'd get satellites as soon as I stopped recording on the GoPro. I'd get full satellites. As soon as I started recording on the GoPro, it would go back down to 0 or 6. Just annoying. The next thing is build quality. Now, that's why they call this thing a potato. It looks a bit like a potato. It feels a bit like a big solid potato. And sometimes it flies like a potato, especially with the GoPro mounted on top. Now, if you crash this thing, you're gonna be in a world of hurt. This is all plastic, so these arms are gonna snap off. You're gonna smash your camera. You're gonna smash the gimbal. You're gonna break the blades. There's no protection on this thing at all. Yes, you can buy parts for this thing, but they're expensive compared to a traditional FPV drone. Also, if you're flying around with a GoPro on top of it, that's just an extra expense that you're gonna have to replace. Considering that this is so fragile, I've found myself not taking the risks that I would probably normally take with a traditional FPV drone, because I know how fragile this thing is. So if you're not taking risks, you're kind of avoiding the purpose of having an FPV drone. You want to feel confident in your gear. You want to be able to crash your drone a few times and get a few flights out of it. You don't just want to buy this drone, crash it once, and then it shits itself. Now, I'm sad because I love this drone. This is the drone that got me into FPV. This bridged the gap for me. It allowed me to just be more confident having a go at FPV. So it's not all bad with this drone. I've done so many videos on how much I love this drone, and I do. Without this drone, I would never have got into FPV. But what DJI is doing with their goggle support is kind of frightening. I mean, I would love to still be flying this drone in 12 months, but I just don't know if they're going to add support for it. Why did they not add support in the recent firmware update? In the tech world, this drone is old now. I mean, it's over 12 months old, so DJI might be releasing a new one, and that is why they do not want to support the goggles with this drone, because they want you all to go out and buy the new drone. Without this drone, I would never have got into FPV, so it's not all bad. This drone is always going to hold a special place in my heart. Now, it's not all bad. If you want to see how epic and cinematic this drone can actually be, check out the video on screen. And I'll see you in the next video. Hooroo.